Good morning. Good morning, everybody. It has been a hot minute since I've come in here and said hello or anything, updated you guys at all. Life, I'm sure, as you can imagine, is still very much lifing. Yesterday, we had a really bad meltdown with Zachary, and it resulted in, well, me having to wear this, right? Because I like torqued something. It also resulted in that and some more down below, but um so there's that. And it's some I often have people that will come and give me their opinion on if they think my son should be in an institution, somewhere safer. And I'm always like, just in such a, like a gas, like, okay, first off, I guarantee you, your bottom line is not the same as my bottom line. You know, like what I feel is worth having my son at home is probably, it's not going to be the same thing you feel is worth um, keeping your kiddo at home. And I have talked to a lot of people who wouldn't have, who by now would have had their kiddo in an institution, because they had a bad week or got pinned up against the wall, or um, I worked with a lot of families whose, the mom or the dad has been passed and it's just the mom left, and mom can't handle getting shoved up against the wall anymore. So that mom who's like 80 years old finally has to, or I met a lady who was like 65, 70, who chose to start looking for their kiddo who was the same age as me at the time. I was like 36 at the time, I think. And was just like, they wanted to go do some living. They wanted to go see their kids. They wanted to go see grandkids. Um, and so, and they thought that, being somebody who was like 37, maybe they would want to, go and be somewhere that was more independent, was more their own, was more, busy, where every day they went and they did stuff and went and did crafts and had TV time and, a social life a little bit too. Um, and they were on the waiting list, which didn't mean that they would get a spot before anything would happen. It, and here you have like a mom on a waiting list who probably been on the waiting list for some time, waiting for a spot to open up for their kiddo. And what happens, when there is no spot? When there's no spot and you're still sitting there doing the very best you can do, and you're missing other, grandkids' birthdays because you can't get them to like a place where they're safe for you to have like just out traveling by yourself or whatnot. And that is kind of something that I want to try to bridge for Zachary is the distance between him and his siblings. Um, the emotional distance between him and his siblings. Because they're not around each other, they don't really know each other. And it would be nice for him to know of his siblings in other places and, be comfortable with them in case one of them ends up being the one that takes him when we can't take him anymore. And that is our grand plan, if the world doesn't end and, you know, the good Lord doesn't come back and say, okay, you guys are done because you have like made the biggest disaster mess on the planet ever in the history of humankind. Now, I don't think we're all that bad because I've seen worse in history. And but at the same time, like, wow, not good. You know, America's just over here trying to perpetuate all the traumas they've given to the world, you know, or the country or other, it's so funny because it's not really funny, but everyone wants to act like there hasn't been tragedy in every part of the world. There is, there's lots of it. It's everywhere. It's, when two countries can't get along, it's automatic war. It's okay, well, then I'm going to come and I'm going to take this and I'm going to come and I'm going to take that. And it's just because what? Like, because people can't hear the word no. No, I don't want to give you this. No, I don't want to set this up with you. And everybody gets all mad. So then they just go and like start wars because one side said, no, I don't want to. You know, um, anyway, I like often find for myself that like my life is way too chaotic and crazy for me to be paying attention about what's going on out in the world, and who doesn't like what, who found out about who the sicko is this go round. Because in a lifetime, I've watched, a lot of shocking things come across my TV. Then to learn like years later, they're not even true. Like how many childhood heroes have you had to like let go of because society was like, well, they're bad. Well, maybe they are, but the memory that you have tied with the song that they created in a time where you were going through something, that's not fake. Like, okay, so the artist isn't a great person. Nobody said because we're out there, you know, um, buying music and listening to music that we agreed with everything that the person creating the music believed in. Like, I want to know when did that start to become like a thing, right? Where like you couldn't just listen to an artist and appreciate their music for their music alone. Why is it, oh, well, I like their music, so then I suddenly stand for everything they believe in? I think that's ridiculous because there's a lot of different artists out there. There's a lot of different musics out there. And okay, if somebody doesn't or isn't doing something that you agree with, why, why should that matter in the grand scheme of just appreciating their art? You know what I mean? Because art is an art form. It like stands alone. It can be judged on its own accord by itself. And music is an art form. I just don't. Mm. Anyway, it's like the way the song moved your soul in the time it was happening was not a mistake. And to be able to learn how to allow art to be brought into this world and appreciate it as a standalone thing and not let who they are get wrapped up in your dictation of the art, you know? I don't know. I don't know if that's making any sense to you guys. I don't think I have anybody on my YouTubes that's watching right now. So what else? Well, Shawnee and I are still trying to co-parent. I think we're getting better at it. I'm not 100% sure, but we have stopped bickering at each other, I think. Like yesterday was a little overbearing because of everything that happened with Zachary, and it was just a little like, okay, let's just make it through the day. And I locked myself back up in here, turned my TV on, was like, okay, I'm gonna watch the show, and just was like, nope, no, I'm not. Going to bed. Going to bed, and I passed out, and now I'm awake at this ridiculous time in the day. And granted, it's only roughly an hour or two earlier than what I used to wake up and do, but it is a little crazy. And I will probably take a nap at some point today when I get tired again. I will nap when I get tired. Hopefully. Hopefully, my being tired doesn't overshadow my patience today. And I just have to be really mindful today. Try to get Zachary back on his schedule. We got the confirmation of his appointment yesterday for Social Security and the time and the day. I mean, I already knew the date, I just wasn't sure of the time. So now we know the time. So hopefully we'll be able to go and get that fixed to where we can get his SSI on the roll again, because we haven't had it for, gosh, I think this is like the third month for sure, possibly the fourth month that we haven't had his SSI. And it's like definitely hurting what, like, uh the budget account has like $30 in it, and my account has very something similar to it. No, I think three in it, because I'm floating the family right now. Yeah, that's just like the great thing about communal living is that, like, not everybody is always throwing out the same amount of finance, but I feel like everybody is always throwing out the same amount of effort in life. Like, it's like, yeah, okay, like, so right now I'm, catching the missing holes in the finance with, a little bit of money here and there. That's it. Not a whole lot. But at the same time, it is definitely appreciated. I have to, the one thing I typically make sure to do is just make sure all the registration and insurances are caught up. Our Camping Pass membership is paid up, and our week out gets paid up. And so that way we always have a safe place to land, to be, to park. We're not out here in the world going, we don't have anywhere to stay. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what I do, is I make sure that this 4 walls and a roof has a safe place to be. And yeah, and then in October, I don't know if I told you guys, gosh, I think it's been so long since I've been on here that I haven't, you guys, I don't know if you guys know about that. My cancer scare I had, which turned out to be not cancerous. And then I'm still going to the genetics doctor October. So that is yet to come, and I do not know. I did do this heritage upgrade. I paid for it. I don't know if it caught on, but it's supposed to tell me whether I have the any cancer genes. So that way I'm just a little bit more prepared when I go in next month to the genetics doctor, as far as me being able to say, okay, well, I went to Heritage, I got a DNA thing done, and I had them do some health testing, and this is what they come up. I don't know how reliable they are, but, and that'll kind of give us like a springboard of where to go, and how aggressive to start off with, or not at all, or just keep an eye out, like no need to do anything if there's no need to do anything, kind of thing. I don't know. But I know usually if you're talking genetics and you're talking specialists, you're talking pretty hardcore aggressiveness. So, anyway, having said that, I'm making this is going to be a sock that essentially, like, not a foot sock, a sock, a body sock for Zachary. I'm planning on tying up ties to the top and the bottom to keep his arms off of other people. I'm making it, and then we're going to start carrying it in a backpack if in case we are anywhere in public and we need to get a handle on him. Um, or, something like that, which is like a means to moving through a crowd safely if he gets overstimulated. So he's not trying to grab other people's hair or other people's faces along the path. I mean, because he'll do it, and he doesn't mean to do it. He's just doing it like if you were like a kid getting put in timeout, he's just trying to catch every corner on the way. But at the same time, I'm not trying to traumatize any small child, like, anywhere ever, or any person or woman, because I tell you what, like, when that kid grabs a hold of you and you can tell he has no control, you realize how screwed you really are. You realize just how screwed you really are, and how little control you have over that situation that's right in front of you. And yesterday, all I could do was pray. All I could do was be like, Lord, or no, I was like, God, help me. Like, I really reached out in a matter of desperation to him for help, because I was like, I needed to flip the car around. I needed to turn the truck around so we could be going back toward the house. And Zachary was ripping and clawing at me. And I was trying to drive the truck and keep everything on the road. And needless to say, it was a pretty hairy experience. It was pretty scary, guys. It was pretty scary. But um, yeah. Well, we weren't very far away from the house, so it wasn't. I don't know. I don't care to repeat it, but it wasn't like the worst thing I had ever experienced in my life either. to say those things. You know what I mean? Say that. I am kind of like, um, yeah. Now Shawnee's like petrified to let Zachary go anywhere with me for good reason because, well, we do have his meds back again, though. We got him yesterday. And even though they say that that med, it doesn't cause any negative side effects if he doesn't have it, I beg to differ. That definitely definitely a negative side effect occurring yesterday from him not having it in his system. So yeah, needless to say, we kind of got a newer outlook on how what kind of effect the trazodone is having on his body, which is always beneficial to know. And if you can take times like yesterday and utilize them for your benefit, you don't have to do it on purpose to collect data. You can just collect the data as it's naturally occurring, which is what I like to do because, you know, I don't like my kid to suffer any more than he has to. And yeah, that is just how it is. Might have to go to Walmart later and buy some more of this yarn so I could finish this thing for Zachary at least. And then I'm going to make crocheted hand booties. Okay. But with no fingers. And then we're gonna have a tie cord at the bottom of those also to keep Zachary from scratching and pulling people's hairs out. And I want to make the hand gloves thick enough to where if he is going at himself in a manner that I cannot control at the time, he's not hurting himself. And today I'm also going to implement pool noodle, my pool noodle, uh, possibly not actually not pool noodle. I'm going to use a different material that's a little bit more absorbent. Because a pool noodle, if you hit it enough, it will collapse because it's just air. I need something that's like solid and can withstand a weight like a yoga block. I might cut apart all the yoga blocks that I've never used, which I was thinking about starting to use because I have some workouts that, I could use a little in lift when trying to implement some of the um, moves and stuff in my yoga class. But again, if Zachary needs it more and I have like 5 of them, I can take 1 or 2 of them, cut them in half, and at least just line the car door with it, so that way we don't have any more of yesterday. And I also need to today, um, go and make an appointment for the truck to get looked at, and I need to get the shocks taken care of, I need to get the brakes done. I need to get new tires, most likely, and I just hope they can do the air shocks, or at least just help me beef up my towing capabilities on my truck. So I'm open to suggestion. If anybody else has other suggestions, I've been suggested to do airbags. Um, and I think that's the cheapest suggestion. Even a friend who said that they could put them on, but then when I realized I needed like brakes and tires and doing all that stuff anyway, it's like, okay, well, why put somebody out to do all this work just to get the shocks put on when they're going to have to do the same amount of work to put new tires and brakes on? You might as well just take it all and handle it all while you're there getting it done at one time. So then too, about when everything was done and about when it'll need to be done. It's kind of like, I think it's been 4 years. No, maybe not. Maybe it's just been roughly 2 years, I think, a little over 2 years since we got tires last. So it's about that time to get it done. Now, this is definitely, I really wish, no matter what I do, I always seem to close this. Maybe it's because I do that. Like, that could be it. Anyway, so I don't know. I was looking at apartments near me, and that is still something, except for most of them won't take dogs over 25 pounds. And I think that is a very, like, it's a very nasty way to be. And I was talking to my son's dad, and I was like, well, if apartments let women have dogs that were over, you know, 50, 60 pounds, then maybe they would quit getting kidnapped from their houses or their parking lots if they had a big pit bull with them, right? Like if everybody knew, like, oh, that house has a pit bull, then maybe more people would be safe if single women were allowed to have bigger dogs in apartments instead of just little two, basically the consensus was that you could have two dogs, but they had to be little 25-pound dogs. And I'm like, dude, if I'm moving out on my own, dude, I am taking my big dog. I have my dog. I'm like, if I'm moving out anywhere, if I'm moving anywhere, I'm taking my dog. So now I'm thinking truck camping is going to be the way to go until we can get separate living trailers, because I do feel that is coming. Because I can't, I need a place where I'm not just stuck in a bedroom all the time, um, where I can live my life and, walk out into the living room and maybe, organize my space and or listen to music or feel like I'm not triggering everybody just because I'm out in their space, which is can be really hard, and of course, like every time I would ever bring this up in the past, it was always, no, of course, I don't want you to be over here. Or of course I don't, we want you around, blah, 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 blah. And it was just like, yeah, but what do I want? Like, I don't want the fear anymore. I don't want the arguing anymore. I don't want, but here's the thing though, I have my own door. So the fact that I'm just stuck back here is more as a more of just a conception that I'm placed upon myself about me being able to leave or have my own life or do my own thing, which I am totally capable of doing. I have my own door. I could leave at any time. So, yeah. So that is kind of something that I think I placed on myself, a constraint I placed on myself. So I've been trying to work to get um, this area kind of like more functional as far as in outs and things like that is concerned. So that's exciting. And then I will start utilizing my own thing and my own ins and outs and stuff and start locking my door. So then that way Shawnee doesn't have to worry about keeping the kid out of my room, off my fingers, which was yesterday's plight, along with just the physical safety of everybody. Uh, he was also hung up on hangers yesterday. So he kept trying to force his way into my hangers, which he inevitably did because I was like, you know what? Let the meds kick in, just let him do his thing for right now, and then we'll work on it later. We'll, limit access or whatever. But oh my gosh, what a day. And then poor Shawnee felt so bad because he's like really enjoying his alone time now, where he gets to be alone for an hour a day or whatever, or hour a couple times a day. And now he feels bad for even wanting to have that time because if he would have been there yesterday, what happened wouldn't happen. And it's like, yeah, we could always say that. We have to live our lives in a way that we can live our lives, that we are that it's acceptable, in a manner that's acceptable. And I really am not okay with, him feeling bad about having his own stuff and doing his own stuff because Zachary had a meltdown yesterday. I feel really bad that he feels like that he can't ever be away from his kid. And granted, yeah, single parents, all that good stuff, but they go to school, maybe they go and do things. They have day programs, they have therapies they go to. Like Zachary is so crazy violent that we can't even get a company to accept him. Like literally, um, like we had a ABA service that was like, yeah, let's get you started. Let's go because I wanted. They had centers in like the Bay Area where I could take Zachary and he could go out and get more, socialization or whatever. And it turned out that they were like, oh well, it's for private insurance only. And my kid who's over here waiting for any services, like the only kind that they have available is the kind that you come out and they come out to your house. Okay, well then I get that. And we did that for a long time when we had a brick and mortar house, but I would like my kiddo to go out into the world more. I would like my kiddo not to get shoved behind, you know, um, the walls of our home because the world is having a hard time dealing with him. And that is really just the struggle of the special needs parent in general, right? Convincing people that your son or your daughter has the right to services, whether they're violent or not violent, or it's part of the job is teaching kids of all spectrums. And it seems as though most school systems have gotten away from the hard people. Most school systems now just suggest that parents go homeschool their own special needs kid because somehow, even though over the lifetime of therapies that they had to have, somehow now because they're too difficult, they can live their life without them. Right? I think it's disgusting. I think for a school system to take a struggling family, clearly struggling family, clearly struggling school system with safety for the family member and somehow make the answer be just go homeschool them. Well, you could just homeschool them yourself, which is true, which we do. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes days like yesterday happen. Some days we have nothing but progress and it's like a phenomenal day. And he does a bunch of stuff on his own and he gets himself out to his own vehicle and he puts himself in the truck and he's starting to like get to where he can buckle his own seatbelt and he just can't keep his own self safe when he's frustrated. It's true. So anyway, I'm starting to get all sweaty, you guys. I'm like, oh, um, yeah, I get frustrated sometimes because it's just like with me. I was a difficult child. I'm a difficult human being. I have special needs. You have to have a little bit more patience with me than you would like probably an average person. And I feel like the world just gets so good at casting out the people that aren't like everybody else that then you end up having like an entire community of like full-time RV people who are just tired of trying to fit into your box. Like, no, I'm not going to fit into your box. My son isn't going to fit. My dog doesn't fit into your box. None of us fit into your box because your box is societal and it is whatever you deemed normal to be. And then whatever you deemed normal to be was whatever was safe for you. The normalcy became the safety. And now everything that isn't normal is somehow unsafe. Now, but there are things like Zachary, like yesterday, Zachary was extremely unsafe. So, you just have to really be able to um, be mindful of all your situations and all the people that you interact with, and you decide what is safe, what is worth the risk in life, whatever that might be, or if whoever that might be, or like we all have those difficult friends that you know, uh that like you always know, like, that when you're thinking to yourself, you're like, well, everybody needs a friend, and so you're like, you're the difficult friend haver. You're the one with all the difficult friends because, you're like, wow, someone needs to be their friend. Well, that it doesn't have to be you though. Maybe somebody does need to be their friend, or maybe they need therapy and they need to understand that, you know, um, brashly suggesting things to other people and other parents in this world is not the way to go about it. Or, the first time that you have like a disagreement with somebody, the answer isn't always going to be to just cut them out of your life because that's the easiest way. Like, oh, well, if I can't do it the right way, I'm not going to do it at all. I know I've heard that mentality in my life before, and I'm feeling like it didn't come from an adult. You know what I mean? I'm feeling like it was probably at a job where there was a maybe even a special needs adult or like a child, in fact, that said it to me, because they don't understand that the gravity of learning to, will you get your, my dog keeps putting his face on my yarns. I'm like, will you get your drooly face off my yarns? Anyway, I don't know, but thanks for hanging out with me while I'm making get a little bit farther. Let me see if I can close this row out so we can say that it was finished. And I'm thinking that they turned the freaking AC on or off because it froze over or something, because it is hot back here and I'm sweating, and I don't usually sweat in the early morning of 3 a.m. I'm usually not sweating by then, but we shall see when I go out there to make coffee and apparently take the dog to the bathroom, because that's what I do at 3 a.m. 4 a.m. Usually 4. I'm usually not up at this time, but I'm like, I popped up like gangbusters, like, oh, I'm not tired, it's time to wake up. And I thought for sure it was like 4, 4:30, just from like the way I felt the, I like felt like I was really, had gotten quite a bit of sleep and good sleep. And I might have, I don't remember what time it was when I think it was like 9 o'clock or 8:30, 9 o'clock, maybe, when I finally shut the door and was like, or maybe it was even 10. So that's only like 4 hours, but at the same time, I'll get more sleep later. I'm not worried about it. Just the great thing of not having a job and being able to, love on your neurodivergent self a little bit and not have to worry about keeping anybody else's hours. Also, the good thing about when you're a creative individual and making stuff for people, because then it's like, you could do that at any time and then go to sleep, at any time. So you can kind of just work in your own schedule. All right, I gotta go because I gotta take the dog. Rufus has to go potty. He's looking at me like, yes, I do have to go potty. You says I do have to go potty, Mom. Do you have to go potty, Rufus? Is it now time? What? I'll show you the face that I'm getting right now. Check it out. Come on. Is it time to go potty? Is you gotta go potty, Rufus? He said yes. All right, I will talk to you guys later. It was great catching up. And yeah, hopefully I'll be able to pop in tomorrow.